reaching out, touching you.
It's like, I think if at some point in your existence, I hope that everyone comes to faith in Jesus, because that, in a sense, I couldn't call myself a Christian if I didn't say that, because I think it's pivotal to your future, your eternal existence, and I believe we are eternal. So, with that, I'm concerned. I want that for everyone, but I know not only does it not work to convince somebody with force or anger or aggression or hostility or extreme judgment, and no, that never works. And if it did, God would use that method. He doesn't. He actually does the opposite. He says, you could do whatever you want. Now I'm going to tell you all the things I'd rather you do, or that I want you to do, that in fact you should do. And if you don't do, like you said, there are going to be consequences. You can choose to do something, and there will be a consequence. If you're willing to take that consequence, do that thing. Hey, that's your choice. But you can't avoid the consequence. So are you strong enough to endure the consequence of your action? And I say, with God's scenario, none of us are strong enough to endure the consequences of defying him without acknowledging a certain reality. And what the difference with Christianity and most other religions is that, say, like Islam believes that there's a scale, and if you've done more good or greater good in your life, you've caused more good to happen in the world than bad, you go to heaven. If somehow the scale balances out where you caused more harm to the world in accordance to Allah and what his commands are and whatever, then you're going to, I don't know what they call it, if they call it hell or they call it, like, I know Judaism has a bunch of different words like Sheol and all this other stuff, but there's, the bad place, the judgment place, and eternally suffer there, whatever. In Christianity, you're not trying to please God to get saved. You can't ever please him enough to get saved, because one sin, one lie, one theft, one adulterous thought, one sin makes you inoperable in heaven, because you can't be in heaven unless you're clean, you're pure. That's what this place is. So, and the difference is who is Jesus? What did he do? Why did he do it? Why is it important? And what did he tell us about what he did and what we need to think about it? And who he was God. The Spirit that we call God, Yahweh, put himself into a body, and his name was Yeshua, that became Jesus through interpretations through Greek and all this other stuff. His name in Aramaic was Yeshua, and so Yahweh became Yeshua in physical form to become a compatriot with his creation, and to acknowledge sorry, this is real to me, to acknowledge how much he understands how hard it is for us to do what he wants because of the nature of the world we're in. He's never said, now go do this, and if you fuck up, I'm burning your ass. That's not what he's saying. And in fact, he's done the opposite over and over again. He's reached out to the world and said, I love you. I want you to be with me. But you can't do these things. And he set up a plan, and he illustrated. If you read the Bible, all the Old Testament are stories, the things that happened, but they call them foreshadowings, illusions to a future event. And all of them, I could go through it with you sometime, but there's a lot of them that tell the story of Jesus without ever mentioning him. But if you look at the parallels of what happened, they're the same things that he did. And he was kind of telling us through these other people what's being done, what's happening in this world, and why I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And what I'm doing is I'm telling you, here's my rules. The laws that I have given you are not because I think you're going to be able to uphold them and adhere to them. That's why the Jewish people sacrificed animals. They had to make a statement to God. God said, I want you to take your best animal, the most healthy, pure animal you've got, sacrifice it to me out of acknowledgement that you have betrayed our trust and you have sinned. And so that's enough for me to forgive you. But you have to do it each time, each day, or each week, or whatever there was to be continually acknowledging in your walk with God before Christ. Here's my sacrifice, Lord. I failed you. Forgive me, and continue and try and repent. It's repentance, essentially, to acknowledge your failure and move forward and accept his grace and forgiveness. So what Jesus did with that, what the illusion was those sacrifices had to be done over and over again throughout your life to continually present to God your acknowledgement of your impurity and your wish for him to accept you. And then what his promise is that he'll cleanse us. We will be given a new body, in the new place, right? So without going into the theology of that, what Christ did was he became that sacrifice. God came, became a man, showed us what it was like to be a perfect man without sin, but also to show us that he knew what we felt because he had to feel at least the pressure of it. He never succumbed to it. He didn't give in to it. He didn't have sin. He didn't do what we would do or think what we would think, but he felt the pressure of the outside world trying hard to get it into us. And he knew that that pressure was way beyond our strength and said, I'm going to feel it. I want to feel what you feel, and I'm going to walk with you physically, and then I'm going to sacrifice myself for you. And all you have to do to participate in that sacrifice, you don't have to do it. You don't have to kill your goat and, present him to me. I've done it for you. All you have to do is acknowledge it now. Say, yes, Lord, you sacrificed yourself for me because of my sin. And now I can live my life knowing that when I die, no matter how perfect I was or wasn't in my life, if I believe that in my heart, and I know it to be true, and I continue to believe it, and I don't let the world take that away from me, and it's genuine, and I trust him that he did, that's why he existed. That's why that man that everyone calls Jesus came into our reality and affected. I mean, it's incredible, really, if you think about it. A single person who only lived what they say to be 33 years of life, the impact that wandering guy in the middle of a desert region had on the whole world is significant, whether you believe in anything I'm saying or not. It's powerful. And
It's a
for me,
beautiful story. For me,
and
it's a beautiful
it
story
became
depicting
real to me. It
this
became real
man,
to me.
Jesus Christ, and I could sense it's very real to you. And
when when I shoot, you that Mel Gibson movie,
Passion of
Passion of
Christ.
Christ.
Yeah.
Oh my! I saw that in the theater, and I was sobbing.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
But it wasn't because of that. I can't explain it. There's been some things that have happened to me in my life, and I can't share them with you. It's not. So it's like that phrase that I told you can't tell somebody something sometimes. They have to experience, they have to see it for themselves.
Sure.
So the best I can do is present it to you as something that happened to me, and if it rings in your ear, maybe you'll pursue it, maybe you won't, maybe it'll be a seed, maybe it won't. I don't know. That's in God's hands. Because I didn't find my salvation. I was looking at other stuff. I was looking hard at everything else, anything else. I mean, I was raised to believe in the Bible, and I just didn't. I could say honestly, even through my childhood, going through Sunday school, confirmation, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe any of it, at all. I pursued other things with vigor. I was running the opposite direction because I felt, oh, my friends, me even. I would go into church and I had my earrings and my nose ring and my weird cut hair, and I'd feel the glares of the people. I was like, I don't like this. This is bullshit. You guys are talking all this talk about love and forgiveness and non-judgment and peace
Well, for me, the problem with the church
and
is
then I
that I
walk in and
think
I'm
they
like, making me feel like a piece of dog doo-doo,
I think they still do that, just in a different manner. It's not targeted towards any sort of appearance of any sort of individual. It's more or less you go in there and they say, I know you've got troubles. I know you've got pain. I know you're suffering. And I think it's just feeding a line to people that's so easy to take, because everybody does have some sort of pain, suffering, and trouble. But then the way it's spoken of, it seems to exacerbate that feeling, which may be part of the practice, may be part of the ritual.
Well, I
But
think,
I looked around. The last time I went was I don't know, quite a while ago, and I remember when he was saying that, I looked around. It was big, one of those big mega churches, in South Florida, and I thought, this is so unfair. Like, I came here, I haven't been to church in years, but it's Christmas time. So yeah, let's hear some Christmas carols. Let's hear the story of the Nazareth, and enjoy the holiday. That's where I went.
right.
And yeah, I felt like, ugh, like this is a setup. Like, I don't feel that way right
I don't
now.
like most churches myself,
I'm like, what's the deal? You don't tell me I'm like
Yeah.
all depressed. But anyways, yeah, yeah, I think it's a very powerful story, and I love the way you told it. And it's a beautiful story too. And again, it's not entirely relevant whether you believe it or not, because the story itself, I'm not saying for you, I'm saying to
Yeah,
others that are listening.
yeah.
Um, to me, those that don't have um, any sort of feeling at all for Christianity or what you're saying until um, maybe hearing what you said, I would say, like, if that sounded like a nice story, even just a nice story, like,
It's a love story.
it's like a lovely story too. It's a love story,
Well,
and
it's a love story
it
of a
doesn't really,
father and his children. And
yeah,
his children ran away from him, and he's desperately calling them back.
you know,
Come home, come home.
mm,
That's what I feel like this. Come home.
yeah, and I think the overall teachings of um, you know confessing to your sins and
It's
holding
not
yourself
pleasant all the
accountable.
time.
No,
It's not
can't be,
pleasant all the time,
can't be. But
Just like all relationships.
I think even if you don't have the belief that it leads you to the path that you're suggesting, irregardless of that, the path is still going to lead you somewhere good, no matter what, you know? Because in my mind, that's just doing the right thing. That's just taking a
Well,
responsibility
yeah.
for your actions. And it's,
But
even if,
the
I
thing
mean,
that
the sin part is one thing too. Like, of course, sins are being committed all the time. It's a rampant thing. We're living in a hedonistic age. We're all
we
responsible
always have been.
adults. We don't have to talk about what we do, but we all
Yeah,
know that things are being
sure.
done, and it's all good. Um, you know what I mean? To an extent, because we take the responsibility for it one way or another, whether we identify it or not. Like, there's a price to pay when you do things, and we all know it. Like, it might
Well,
be a
and that's
small
why it
price
brings
tag.
tears to my eyes,
It might be a
because
small price tag where, like, you just
yeah,
don't feel good for a day. Maybe you feel
yeah.
bad for 5 minutes. Maybe it's for a week. Maybe it's a month. But there's usually some bad feelings associated with all the sins that are laid out,
Oh,
the ones that
yeah.
you're
I mean, if
identifying.
you try,
Except, I
well,
honestly, the one I can't fully endorse is the homosexuality one, because I just don't think it. Um, I don't think Jesus maybe was alive long enough. He was alive for 33 years. He was alive a long time ago. He didn't have the chance to meet and hang out with some cool homosexual dudes
Well,
or
here's the
gay
thing.
women or
If
something.
you're
There just wasn't
what you
time.
just described as Jesus, though, you
Mhm.
just described some dude. He wasn't some dude.
No, I'm
He was
speaking.
he's
I'm
the creator who's
Yeah,
existed for eternity,
sure.
put into a body. So Jesus had all the knowledge of an eternal being. He wasn't
Sure.
some dude that lived for 33 years. He's God. He is God.
Yeah.
Like to be a Christian, I'm not just saying like Christ is my teacher. He is God. He
Yeah.
is God. Not he. No, he was.
I
The
just
maker,
think
the creator of everything. So
I just think if you're on a position of zero belief that you can't fast forward to, oh,
no,
okay, he is
I have
God, he is the
introduced
leader,
some
he is the
heavy. I have
creator.
introduced some very heavy
It's too
topics.
fast. I think
Yeah,
first you
I'm
go with,
sorry. Yeah,
oh, I think first you go, hey, that dude's pretty interesting. Like that's where it kind of
absolutely.
starts. And then
Sure.
if you're interested, you learn more about this
Well, that's why I say I'm a
dude,
little
and then the
hesitant.
dude becomes somebody else in your mind, and
This
you
is the
change your whole frame
first
of
time.
thought, and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just think
This is
there's
the
baby
first time
steps if you
I've ever
wanna.
talked about it with anybody who's
Hmm.
not a Christian, you know. And really, I don't even talk. I mean, I don't. You don't sit and talk. Things come up. You have conversations, but I'm not going to say that I'm the best at you know
You could be
explaining
if
all
you
this stuff. I'm learning.
one day.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about it because you are helping me hone my own ways of communicating what it is I'm trying to say. Because a lot of the things I've
Honestly,
said, they might be coming out wrong, and what I'm trying to
you
say is something else or whatever. But
granted,
yeah, I
but
mean,
honestly, you should totally take a new career path and like become a youth minister or something. Like that should be your stick, man. That should be what you're doing because like you're passionate about it, and honestly, even though it's your first time being in a situation like this, it's not bad, man. You're not doing bad. It's passionate, it's beautiful, it's all good, you know? You should go
the
down that
only
path.
the only request I would make of anybody with anything that I've said is just think about the possibility of, like you say, there's consequences for our actions. There's a possibility at the end when you die that there's a consequence for our
Could be.
behaviors and our thought lives and the stance we take and even just I think really at the essence of Christianity is not that you've okay, oh I believe and now I'm good.
Hmm.
It's the knowledge and the humility to accept that you're not good enough. And that's okay because you're loved anyway. And not only are you loved, but the price has been paid. You don't have to have that consequence happen. All you have to do is acknowledge the wrong and then trust that the price was paid and be grateful and thank him. Just thank you for not letting me die in my sin because now I have hope. See, people will say, "Oh, you talk about the world and you make it sound like this dark place and life's not fun anymore and it's this drudgery." In fact, it's not anymore. It's great. I just am not enjoying the same things.
Right.
There's so many things you can enjoy in the world, and just because I don't enjoy the same things doesn't mean I no longer enjoy being in the world or being alive in the world or other people. And on top of it, I have the joy of knowing that when I die, I'm going somewhere infinitely better that I can't even imagine that will be that idea that you have that is so strong in you of that childlike excitement and wonder and wanderlust for life and that those moments of joy that you so hard try to be a part of and create and foster and nurture. And it's awesome. That's Joe Martine. That's what I see in you. That's like if I were to have to caricature you, that would be the trait that I'd bring out the most, which is you try to bring joy to other people, and through discovering things that you didn't know before and having experiences you hadn't had before and that excitement of the first time. And that's what I think uh, becoming a member, a This is interesting. This guy I've been watching a little bit. He has a YouTube channel. I'm hesitant to point out Christian teachers too much because I haven't exhaustively looked at this guy, so I don't know if there's some kind of sandpit trap waiting at the end of some of his videos that are going to be like
Well,
leading someone down a bad path.
yeah,
But
we won't put
he
anything
talks
like that.
about the idea of Christ and stuff. And the kingdom of God talks about the kingdom of God. There's the kingdom of man, and that when you come to faith, you become a citizen of the kingdom of God. And now in this world, I'm no longer a citizen of this earth. I'm a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. And my president, my king, is Jesus. And if Donald Trump contradicts him, Donald Trump's no good. You know what I mean? If Joe Biden contradicts him, he's the king. He's the king of kings, the Lord of lords. He's in charge of it all.
Honestly,
And
dude,
so
I think most
what it
people
is that
believe
Christians are
all of
supposed to
that
be here.
already. They just don't identify it as the same individuals in those roles, the same characters. It's more or less like a common feeling that, there's a good way and a bad way, and the good
Right.
way pays off. It pays off in mysterious
Yeah,
ways. It
it
pays off in
does.
obvious ways. It pays off in
Right.
unpredictable ways. And the same goes for the bad ways. And everyone kind of
Yeah.
has that sense already. It's just not tethered or anchored to maybe something specifically. And if it's not something specifically, then maybe it's an abstract idea, like extracted from a
Well,
combination of
yeah.
Star Wars and Harry Potter and veganism and vegetarianism all smashed into this like feeling of some sort of hierarchy or some sort of
I think what you're describing though is the idea that on every human heart is inscribed. See, we go
I
back
think the
to like
idea is
our
that
original
there's a
discussion about
belief that there's an
the
absolute
cloned
truth. I think that's
that,
the
but they're
belief
like we
that you
go.
have and that most people have, but these even though it's the same exact idea
It's
that there's a belief in an absolute truth, like it's the same concept. Most people have this, but then
the
it like
one
split
divining rod. The
like
divining
this.
rod. Yeah.
It's a funny and ironic thing in a sense because it's so divisionary, but the
Well,
outcome is
yeah.
nearly the same. You literally can
Well,
be of this side. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. If you're on this side and you're like, I don't believe in it, but maybe it's true. You know what? It could be true, and you go through life like that, right? You're like, man, maybe it is true. I don't know. And then towards the end, you're like, I think maybe it's true. And then you're like dying and you go and you say everything that you just said, right? You
well,
say the things
if
that
that
and
happens,
you mean it.
if that happens
Then you slip
naturally,
in. Then you
yeah.
slip
Well,
in.
you're not slipping in.
But I'm just
It was
speaking to
planned that way.
I'm
My
speaking to the
my view
dudes.
is,
You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, sure. Can
it's
I?
not a hard pill to swallow that people like you with such a firm belief in what you're saying exist and actually can support a good, healthy, positive path forward for people who feel that they're lost. Because what you're saying is generally what most people already believe. It's just not tethered to something. You tethered it to something, and I'm not saying it's something like the Dodgers. I'm just speaking on layman's terms. You tethered it to
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
and at the last moment, if you just have a vague belief that Mike Mucci might be speaking the truth to a certain extent, it might be true. Maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I'm not the all-powerful seeing Oz, and I grant Mike Mucci the possibility that he might be true. Then let me just hold on to that, and after our life, I'll gnaw on it. I'll think about it. And if you really are sincere,
To
I'm not
me,
saying I know what happened in
yeah.
the never
To
ending story when Atreyu got to the fucking eyes. I know what happens if you're not pure of heart. Mike, I know what happens. I'm not saying you can just slip in and just be like, pull out a piece of paper and read it. That's why I'm
right.
not even saying
Well,
it because I don't
what
want to
you
say
said
it.
is
I'm just
100%
saying,
correct, but people use
right.
that scenario to go, "Oh, I can just fuck around," and at the
Well,
last minute, I
they
go,
blow
"Okay,
it.
okay, bop, bop, bop," and I'm
But they
good.
blow it.
Doesn't
Those
work.
people
Yeah,
blow it. That's when they
because
get burned up from
there's
the laser
they're
eyes.
liars. They're lying
Exactly.
You know, God knows
Exactly.
the man's heart, and that's what we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
Only you and God know your heart, and God's talking to all of us, whether we're listening or not. Sometimes we hear him and we don't even know we're hearing him, but he's
Whether you
talking.
believe it or not, he's talking
Yeah,
to you.
that's what I'm
How
saying.
about that?
That's what I, yeah.
Whether you believe it or not,
And there's also a
he's
bunch of
talking to
dark
you.
spirits in the world talking a bunch of bullshit too.
They also might be talking
And
to you
sometimes
at
they
any time.
wrap it up in like fucking sugar and sweet
be.
nice things, and they go, "Oh,
Yeah.
check this out. It's it's beautiful." And then you bite into it, and there's like a pile of dog shit in the center, and it's too late. You already ate it.
Bloopers.
You already ate it.
Life bloopers. Bloopers real.
So you
Yeah.
gotta be careful.
That's what I'm saying, man. And I'm saying everybody knows that. It's just that you have it tethered to something. And that's what's interesting is that it's so controversial to espouse those ideas. Honestly, the only hang up is the homosexuality one. That's it. It's the only one. If that weren't there,
to me,
people would be like, why not? Let's do this.
I'm watching Brian's video.
I'm gonna join the Christian bowling league next week. I'm down. I'm gonna do a Christian punk rock band. I'm down. It's that. That's the hang up. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault.
I get it.
Identifying what's in reality. That's the reality of the situation.
I get that front to back. I understand it. I understand it entirely. Well, yeah. But, because I've been very close friends with gay people,
And they might share your belief. And they might also say the same thing at the pearly gates. And a tray walks right through. Lasers, they don't fire. I totally believe that too.
I am never gonna. I have tried my hardest to get to this. I'm not gonna
won't
say
even consider
anyone
like believing because they're offended. Just on its face value, they say, that's offensive. This is like all the other offensive stuff out. This is like Playboy magazine. This is like Hustler. This is like moonshine. This is like fuck this
everybody's
shit. I don't need this shit. This is bullshit. Or whatever,
everybody's got to draw their own lines. Yeah, everybody's got to draw their own lines, and that's totally cool.
Isn't that a pity though? Isn't that a pity?
Well, we're living in a world where we're not all in the truth, whatever that truth is. And this is what I was alluding to with our conversation that got difficult with Brian is the future. What does the future bring? And then society with AI and control and total surveillance and all this stuff, your perception, having faith in mankind, is that it's a great thing. And you're going to get this burger that you didn't expect to have with the chocolate shake. And you're like, hey, I didn't expect this. And the AI read my history and made an assumption that was totally correct, that I may have never had this before, but it knew based on all this information about me, I'd probably like it and offered it to me. And it's great and it's enjoyable and whatever. What I see from that future is some dark, evil group of people that are the ones designing that system aren't designing it with your heart. They're designing it with their heart, and their heart is dark. Your heart isn't dark. If you designed that system, I'd enjoy the shit out of it. If I could walk in somewhere and the system knew what I liked, great. But the fact is, we're in a spiritual battle.
But that's where I gotta say, you gotta have more faith, brother. You gotta have more faith, man. Because honestly, those people with those fingers that are long and stretching with the nasty green fingernails and shit, they've existed all throughout history. And they've been there for the inception of all the breakthroughs throughout history. And every time there was someone like you who stood by and said, oh, that motherfucker with the long fingers, dude, I just don't trust him. And then there was someone like me saying, guess what? There was someone like me saying, there's a bunch of motherfuckers with normal fingers around here, guy. And we're going to sort it out.
Here's the thing,
it gets sorted, Mike. That's the thing. Here's all of history, okay?
I know.
Here's all of history, and here's present day, right? And here's the future, right? Present day and the future, and this is the question mark because we haven't seen the future yet. But let's take this little box here and put it over the rest of the fucking history timeline. Oh, it worked out. It worked out. It worked out. It worked out. It worked. Why only here? Do you think it won't work out? Only here do you think it won't work out. Why?
We go back
it's always worked out.
We go back to worldview.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm a Christian, which means that my worldview is based on not only Jesus Christ and sin and the basic principles. This is what I was going to say to you earlier too about like the Halloween thing. That's a topic that Christians argue about, and they break their bonds with each other over Halloween. Fool's game. In fact, we were warned against that, right? We were
Yeah.
warned, don't argue over shit that doesn't matter. The Bible says this, not in those words. It's not as crude as I am.
Paraphrasing.
But it tells us, don't argue over things that don't matter. If you have conflict over little details, don't destroy yourselves over it. The only things I would say to argue with each other about or have contest with is if they start defacing the primary principle of who Jesus is, what he did, why he did it, and why you need him. If you agree on that, all else will get reconciled in due time. Everything else, all of my sins, because we say, forgive me for the things I have done and the things I've left undone, for the things I know I've done and the things I don't yet know that I've done wrong, right? Because there are invariably going to be things that are revealed to me, and I'm going to be like, I didn't even know. And Jesus said his last dying words were, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
See, that's
They
all
don't know
good,
what.
right? Yeah, and we
So,
all kind of feel that same way, you know? Like the whole
so
world doesn't know
point
what they're
with,
fucking doing. So it
right,
matches up
and
with your story, what you're saying. It matches. There are certain
which is
parts
why I'm
that
so
are
adamant about
undeniably like a
saying the,
match. Like even if
yeah,
you're
what,
over here,
yes.
oh, perfect match, and then it
Tell you,
happens a lot.
tell you, Joe.
You
Here's the
know,
thing.
it's just not. It's
What
just
I'm
not
saying.
enough. It's not enough.
Here's
People
what
are
I'm.
not like
Here's
past
the
that.
thing. The most important thing that I could ever relay to anybody about anything, and the other topics might help me or hinder me in it or whatever, and they might be true or whatever, this and that. The most important thing that I'm supposed to, in my faith, portray and relay is that central concept that I just tried to summarize for you about, who is Christ, what did he do, why did he do it, and what is my relationship to that. Everything else is not irrelevant, but not centrally important. So why do I think it won't work out? And I'll tell you,
Oh
because we are
no.
in the sin world. We're in the fallen world, right? So in the
We've always
end,
been.
yeah, well, in our consciousness of this place, yeah, this is the fallen world. That's where we are. We're in the
This is where
fallen
I'm gonna
state.
defend the world. This is where
But
I'm coming up. I'm
wait,
gonna
wait.
defend the
I
world,
have faith. I have faith too in people. I do. If
but
I
not
didn't, I
enough
would.
that we're gonna
If
destroy each other with AI.
wait, no, I have faith in people's ability to come back to God, and I have faith in the
Then
individual's
we'll do it.
possibility of that. But I know what I
Home run.
know, just as much as you've said how things have quote unquote worked out every time, supposedly, you say they've worked out, I say as
They have.
cultures have risen and collapsed and risen and collapsed and things have, there's been repeating cycles and all that
Hmm.
stuff. So if anything, what history teaches us is not that we've
But it's
gotten
still
better, but
going.
that we're really good at changing the costume of the same theater production.
I mean,
It's
that's
like
interesting because I kind
it's
of
the
agree with
the
that.
same things happening in different clothing with
Yeah.
different music and different imagery. It's all the same though, the same
Well,
struggles, the
not
same
exactly the
power,
same.
but the same principles. And this is what the Bible says about we're not warring against flesh and blood, but of powers and principalities
Not the same
that are
principles either. I mean, you got some
not
very.
principalities.
Uh,
A principality is a ruler. So we're powers and principalities, but what that alludes to is the spirit realm, the spiritual powers that are
okay.
influencing this world. And they cause us to repeat the same cycles because this is what I
Could
believe.
be.
Yeah, it could be.
But it's hard
Well,
to
of course,
imagine because my cycle includes like dinosaurs and all this other stuff going on too,
I don't believe
which
that
is
they
like
ever existed
so,
either. Because
contrary to
we could go
what
into
I can
hours,
understand life
hours
to be. It's like another, I think,
statements.
other
Yeah,
planetary kind of.
why do you believe in dinosaurs?
because
Have
I've
you ever seen
seen the fossils.
they've every single one of them
Uh-huh.
has been admitted to be incomplete. Like say that the
Sure,
dinosaurs at the Field
but
Museum.
that doesn't
Wait,
distract away that they've
it
been
does.
found.
They find, this is what they say.
I I
They
I would be
find one
surprised that
bone.
they found anything.
They
I
find
mean,
one bone,
so
a
old.
bone, and they don't know what it is. And then they
Hmm.
extrapolate from that one bone an
Hmm.
idea of a dinosaur.
Yeah,
This is what
it's got to start, I
there's
guess.
never been a full animal that is the size of or relation to any dinosaur ever found
But there,
anywhere
but
by any archaeologist.
you've seen photos of archaeological sites, paleontologists standing over certain fossilized remains, not a full intact you know skeleton, but enough to see that that's a creature that
You'd
is
have
just
to
of
show
odd
me.
size and proportion.
You'd have to show me that
Like,
because I've
whoa.
done a lot of research on it and I've never found anything that was actually like you could actually see what that bone was or that couple of
So,
bones or whatever. There's never been, and most of the ones that they claim that there have been, or they would go, oh, look, we found a fossil that
mm,
shows the image of this thing. It's not the actual bones, but an impression of, or whatever type of thing, a fossil.
mm.
And everything I've ever seen is that they've been faked. And the ones
What?
like the bone, and even there's none of the at the museums they make the bones, they're none of them are actually bones, and they claim they can't use the real bones that they found because they're radioactive. This is what the scientists, the archaeologists of dinosaurs say. They can't display the actual bones that they dug up because they're radioactive and would be dangerous to the public. So all of the bones in any museum are fake to begin with. They were created. And actually, there's a big Chinese company that is the main manufacturer of dinosaur bones for museums.
Hmm.
And they make the bones out of.
I wouldn't doubt that most of it is that, but
So there's a lot of.
but I would
Yeah.
highly doubt that there are no legitimate dinosaur fossil findings.
It's something. Yeah, there's something. It's
I
something
would
to investigate.
highly doubt that. I mean, you're
It's something
talking
to
about
investigate.
something that has been
Yeah.
very popular for
Oh yeah. Of
decades, okay?
course.
Super popular for
Yeah.
decades, which means not only is there like this adoring audience that's just eating it all up and willing to believe it all, it also means that there are certain individuals that have been within that audience over these decades who have just been like, that's my dream passion to become a paleontologist. Oh my God. Just like any kid that wants to be a
Sure.
doctor or whatever it is,
Of course.
There's this whole cross
I
section
wanted to
that's
go
just
to space,
flooding.
and that's gone from me.
Yeah, but there's this whole cross section that's just flooding this area of interest over the last several decades that are studying it, getting involved in the practice of it, and they're all full of
Have they?
shit. These
Well,
sweet golden
have
hearted
they found?
kids
Have
who
they
were touched
themselves?
by Jurassic
Have
Park
they? Have they?
1993,
All of
30
their
years
evidence.
later are lying
Oh,
through their
oh no,
teeth to
Joe.
everyone?
All of their.
I don't
Have
believe it.
they? Have any of them? Have any one of those young minds
Dreamer.
found a full dinosaur
I don't
themselves?
know, but
No,
I
they
don't think they're
haven't.
all
It would be.
lying.
We would. It would be. The guys that
But it would be
created
a
the idea.
huge controversy. These kids would be
Do
like,
you?
"Fuck, Jurassic Park's not
Do you
real.
know?
Fuck this shit."
Do
There would be
you?
like
Do you
press
know?
conference. There'd be all these kids that are hurt by Jurassic Park and what
Yeah.
it did to their lives,
There's
and they'd be
gonna be a
like,
lot. Yeah.
"Listen, I studied paleontology for
Yeah.
15 years. I finally got to a dig site, and I
You're talking.
realized it's all fake." That would have happened like 1,000 times already if this was all fake. That's
Okay.
a real tough sell.
Yeah.
I would leave that off the menu.
That's, that's fine. I
No,
have my own.
honestly,
I have views
I'm
that
not
are
speaking from a
very
point.
crazy,
I'm
Joe.
not
You
speaking
know.
from a point of expertise whatsoever, but I do like dinosaurs, and I can't cite
Yeah.
any specific actual
Right.
thing. So
Well.
obviously, I'm not coming at you with
Yeah.
evidence. This is not like a gotcha moment. I'm
No,
talking out of my ass.
I'm not
And
trying to gotcha. But
I would say you are probably far more informed about what it is that I'm even saying, but because of the what we're talking about, obviously you look like the lunatic, but I'm the one that technically is, because I'm not coming at it with any evidence whatsoever. And you've done some reading, I'm sure. I don't know, but I still don't believe it. I still think it's.
Yeah.
I
No, I don't think that the world's millions of years old. I don't think there were ever dinosaurs.
I'm
I
on it
don't believe
though.
in evolution. I don't believe in the
I'm
Big
on it for
Bang. I
looking for
don't believe
evidence
we
to
were
show you.
monkeys. Huh?
I'm on it. I'm gonna find some dino evidence, because dinosaurs are so magnificent and so important to me. I mean, honestly, that maybe is my God, because I've always gone through life saying, when things are really crazy and fucked up, all I have to do is step back and remember that dinosaurs were walking
Here,
around here.
here's
Like, what am I
here's one
talking
caveat,
about? How
Joe. I would say
important is it
I
what I'm
want to
talking about?
I want to help you
There
keep
were dinosaurs here.
I want to help you keep your love of dinosaurs right now.
Okay.
I don't want to say that I definitely don't believe that there were large reptilian creatures here. They might have been here. It might be linked to the timeline that I told you that I believe in, that informed the deities of other religions of that world that existed pre-flood, that was part of the fallen angels manipulating the animals and creatures and creating these fucking monsters that we
Today.
call dinosaurs, and they were all killed in the flood. And that's where there might be
There you
some
go.
evidence of that kind of stuff, but I don't believe that they are pre-human, and that there was this, you know, so many billions of years of evolution, and that we were amoebas and all this stuff. So there might have been creatures that were what we call dinosaurs, but the timeline of them, I definitely will argue with, because that's totally improvable. And for me, anybody that says that they can say with absolute certainty that something specific happened 66 million or a billion years ago, sorry. I'll tell you what I believe, and I'm going to tell you I can't prove it. I will tell you I've come to a knowledge through personal experience that if you seek it, I hope and believe you will find similar experiences catered to you from the Creator, where He will reveal Himself to you. But I will not say I can prove it. And I will not say you're a fool if you don't believe what I'm saying, because it's an absolute fact.
Right.
I say I totally understand that you don't believe what I'm saying, because I didn't used to.
Yeah.
I came to it. And so, you know, the dinosaurs might have been here. If they were, if there was something found like that, for me, it doesn't prove anything other than they were a part of the creation that was described as, if I didn't, all the flesh had been corrupted on the earth. And that's why the flood, God made the flood happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe the dinosaurs were then and there, but the idea that they were these creatures that dominated the world in the way Jurassic Park presents them and all that kind of stuff, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe in, you know, billions of years in the universe and millions of years of planet Earth and all that stuff. And so, yeah,
I believe it, dude.
yeah,
I believe it. I think it runs so deep, the
yeah.
age of this rock. Honestly, to me, it's not hard to believe, too, because those dinosaurs would be very memorable, and there'd be like a lot of folk stories and a very deep understanding of how they lived, if they lived amongst humans, in my opinion. Like, that would not be like erased somehow easily from the memory of the
The current
legacy of the
yeah, well,
shared experience of living with dinosaurs.
the current story we have
But
of dinosaurs
it's
is
totally
based
foreign.
on,
It's like alien. It's like another world.
it's made up.
Well, I
It's
mean,
imagined. It's
the
100%
texture
man.
of it, is made up. You know what I mean? The feel,
No. If
but the
you found
bone,
a bone,
the fossils,
let's
the
let's
bones.
say like you found it. If you
You
let's
have to
say
rationalize what it was, and base it off of
this
other
is what this,
animals, and make
yeah, but it's
assumptions,
still,
and
it's at the end of the day,
challenge your
there's
ideas. I mean, otherwise
no
you're just gonna
evidence.
be like bone. You have to. What are you
Well,
gonna do with
there's
the
no,
bone after you find it? You have to do something.
maybe,
What are you gonna do with it?
but
If you see a
you
big
can.
ass bone, you're gonna be like, damn, what the
Here's
hell
my
was that?
right.
Anybody's gonna start there. Even someone that's
Here's
like, a
here's
kindergartner's be
my
like,
here's
God
my issue
damn,
with
what
it.
is that?
Hey, here's my issue with it.
Yeah.
Of course, if you find this bone and it's nothing like you've ever seen before, you're going to have a story in your mind, or you're going to try to figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not trying to be like, oh God, that's crazy, that anybody would even try to imagine the source of this bone or whatever. It's when
But you're
those
saying they made it
ideas
up.
get
I mean, they have
extrapolated
to because it's
but
how
then that's
there's no
fine. That's
evidence.
fine. But then and it's even fine to present it as saying, I believe with absolute certainty that this is true. But the key is, what did I say in the beginning? I believe with absolute
Right.
certainty that this is the truth. And that's how I present my faith, because at the end of the day, if you're presenting an idea that you have no actual proof of, it's just an idea. If
Hmm.
I can't hand you proof or tell you to go to this place and see irrefutable proof of all of these exact things,
Yeah, but
then they are just guesses.
what are
And you could
people
be
supposed to
totally wrong.
do? Like in every museum exhibit, it's supposed to be, we believe they walked 500 miles. We believe they breathed. We
No,
believe.
because
It just says they
they don't have
walked,
to create
they
a
ate,
story.
they did
They just
this.
go like, we found this bone and we have no idea what the fuck it is.
But that's not true.
Until you can prove what it is, you don't know. And you have to accept that you don't know it. Just because you don't like the idea that you don't know what it is, you make up a story so that it feels better. That
Not
doesn't make
well,
sense to
yeah. I
me.
mean, all throughout time
Now
in
you're going
history.
like, oh, this feels better because I just made up a story that sounds real good, even though I have no proof that what I'm saying is true.
I mean, I would go a
And
step
it's
further and
fine,
say we don't only make up
but
stories
they
to feel
present it
better. We
in our
make up
world as a
stories also.
fact.
We also make up stories that make us feel bad. Like, like you hear a strange noise in the night. You're like, oh my God, is that someone walking in my guest room or whatever the fuck? Someone trying to break in the door. Like,
My
that's
only,
just a
yeah,
human experience to make a story and associate it with the phenomena or experience that you're experiencing. It's just what
but
we
it doesn't
do.
make it, but it doesn't make it true.
It doesn't make it
Is all I'm
true
saying. Is
unless
all I'm saying.
everyone believes it, or most people do. Then it is
But that doesn't
true
make it true
to a
either.
certain extent. Well, to a certain extent, it does become true in terms of a reality
So,
situation.
like,
Like you can deny it, but you're the outlier.
well, it doesn't make it.
Your
It
environment
doesn't
doesn't
make it
back
true.
your opinion or your
It
belief,
makes it
and
makes it
then
something that everybody can agree on and bond on, but that doesn't make it true.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's technically true within the realm of the reality that we exist because the whole entire structure surrounding it supports that position, and therefore you are subject to the um, absence
Sorry.
of the structure when it comes to that because there's no I mean there's one isn't there one like Bible or Christian dinosaur exhibition that has humans and dinosaurs paired up in the
At
exhibitions?
the same time, yeah,
I
like they
think I've
lived
heard
at
of
the same.
that.
What
So
they're what I
there
think of
is
the
some
answers.
structure. There
It's
is
the
some
answers in.
infrastructure there. There's one, I think,
Well,
museum.
there's varying. It's a I think it's the Creation Museum and
There you
Answers in
go.
Genesis. Yeah,
So there's
so
one. But the rest
that
of the world, if you
yeah,
want to
well, there's
boogie with
differences in
dinosaurs,
some Christians don't some people, this is where we get into that territory like I just described to you.
hmm
Inside people that believe in Christ, there's debate over all kinds of topics because
oh
they're
yeah,
not central to existence. Dinosaurs being real or not real. The only thing I would say for me as to why I would be adamant in saying I don't believe that they are not real, but that the description of their story isn't correct, is because from my perspective, part of what makes us have a hard time with our knowledge and belief in God is this belief in the Big Bang and evolution and the billions and millions of years of cycles of life. God didn't tell us that's what he did. God said, I made these things specifically. I made, the origin story is a pretty simple one when it's described, but it's very specific. And, God said he made man from the dust, and he
hmm
specifically formed him like clay and then breathed life into the sculpture. The first man was what we would see as a clay sculpture,
hmm
and then God breathed into it and it came alive and it became a man of flesh and blood.
hmm
That I believe that. And that to many people on this earth is a story and a fantasy. So, and I acknowledge I'm not presenting it as You have to believe it. It's a fact. It's in the books. I'm teaching all the kids as if it's a scientific fact. That's what happened. I acknowledge it's a leap of faith that I believe that. I challenge that the people that believe in the story of dinosaurs, at minimum, do the same. Don't present it to me or children as a fact because you couldn't have observed it. You don't know it. You weren't there. You got this 3 bones, and then all of a sudden you're telling
More
me
than
about.
3 bones.
I watched this
More than 3
story.
bones. We just went
this.
on. I feel like I can. I
Show me.
provided enough evidence because
No, you
I
gotta show me.
the premise is that for at least, I don't know, 7 decades, and I'm being, I think, humble there, there's been a rush of kids who fell in love with dinosaurs into the field of paleontology, and we would have heard a great number of disappointing stories from adult paleontologists how they discovered that it's bullshit, or they would just come out and say this Jurassic Park shit is absolutely bullshit or whatever, because they would be so frustrated with the fact that they were deceived,
Or
and they
maybe,
spent their life's work,
Some people have.
their passionate life's
Some,
work
yeah, some people
to
have.
find
They
out that the
exist.
whole thing is
Yeah.
bullshit. They
Yeah.
would have written books. They would have been on
Maybe-
talk shows. They would have been
maybe.
talking about it, singing about it, making TV shows about it. It would be
I will try
the
to
talk
see
of the
if I
town.
can find somebody.
Everyone
'Cause I
would
bet
want to
you
hear
there's a
that.
Joe, I bet you there's a
Everyone would
documentary.
want to hear that.
Well, maybe they wouldn't. Not everybody wants their dreams to be shattered by
Well,
something.
no,
you
I'm
know?
not saying they would want that, but they would
There's
want.
a cognitive dissonance.
They would
because,
want to expose it so other generations didn't
Okay.
fall victim to that trap. They would want. It's like abuse. It's like child abuse. Dinosaurs appeals directly to children. It's almost like a toy genre. It is a
I
toy
know.
genre. Okay.
Sure.
It's a children's toy, and with it comes a book, and the book says these animals existed, and it goes into
Yeah, and
great
they
detail.
made it
And
all
it's-
up, Joe.
Maybe, but I'm
They did.
saying if they did, which I'll
Yeah.
give the leap of faith, I'll do the thought exercise. I'm not just denying that outright. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's impossible. I'm saying
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's roll through it. Okay? Boom. It's fake. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's impossible for me to believe what comes after that, which is the decades-long line of children
like I said,
eagerly,
here's the thing.
passionate enough to finish a master's degree or a
Yeah.
PhD in paleontology. They would have
Right.
come out with the story.
Here's the thing.
For sure.
Here's the thing.
That's like trying to cover up like
Wait.
100,000 JFK conspiracies at once. That's like, oh, it's just, forget it. These kids are not just from Ohio, they're from around
Joe,
the world,
all I can
rushing
do is
paleontology.
I offer you the pill. It's up to you whether or not you take it. I'm only offering you the truth. I'm not saying you're going to be satisfied with it when you get to the other side. That's the Neo thing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not trying to shatter your reality, but here, if you take
because
this
I trust you, Mike,
so,
I'll take the pill because I just
No.
don't think it's going to do anything. Because I know you're not trying to hurt me.
here's what I'm saying.
So I'm
no,
going to
here's
take
what
it.
I'm saying.
Boom.
Well, let me say
Got
this
it.
because
Nothing happened.
you're twisting some of what I'm saying. I'm not saying the dinosaurs or these large reptilian style creatures absolutely didn't exist. I think they didn't, but I will concede that they might have.
We're on the same page. We're on the same page. That doesn't change my feeling. Because still it leads to generations of kids studying paleontology, wanting the Jurassic Park story, coming to discover that it's your story, just a few bones, and being like, we got robbed. Where are those stories?
Okay.
Where are
they? What all I've seen as far as what I've looked into with that is that they have never found a full dinosaur or even enough of a dinosaur to truly map out the picture of what that animal looked like.
But haven't they found frozen woolly mammoths, like fully intact woolly mammoths? Just for example.
I'd have to
it's not a dinosaur, but it's an extinct animal that lived long before the story of the Bible. So what's that about?
I don't believe they have. And
they found
what's
a
a
baby
woolly
once,
mammoth? Like what? How do we know that there weren't large, hairy? A woolly mammoth is essentially an elephant.
A pretty cool looking elephant, though, that you can climb up the hair.
But it's not. It's not devoid.
You'd be like a little kid and braid up the hair like a gentle,
separate
huge
from,
beast. There'd be a ton of folklore and stories and music and songs if that
There's
happened a short period ago. I believe
not,
that happened a long time ago, and that's why we don't have that
not
connection.
a short period ago.
Hmm?
It's not a short period ago, and time is
That's
relative.
not a short period ago.
Today,
When
like
did it
let's
start?
say
Remind me, when did it start?
the
How long
world.
ago? Yeah.
You're
How long?
mocking me
No,
now.
I forget. How long
Okay,
ago?
so according to what I believe,
Yeah.
I believe in the biblical timeline and everything that I see from that I've looked at, that other people have presented, that I've digested for myself. I believe in the world is approximately 6,000 years old, give or take.
It's pretty
6,000.
old. It's pretty old.
And so our ideas of history, yeah, people talk about stuff and this and that, but like, let's
But
say this:
again,
if
there
if
would be
my
a lot
timeline
of
is
hieroglyphics with dinosaurs. Those are the oldest, like,
thing, if what I'm saying is true,
depictions of
okay,
like
if the
why didn't people draw
dinosaurs
dinosaurs on the wall?
existed, the dinosaurs existed,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say, for sake of argument, that they didn't exist in the modern pop culture's view of dinosaurs. They existed pre-flood in my description of the fallen angels mating with humans, creating giants, manipulating animals to create their own creations, and just basically fucking up the genetic pool of the whole world through their, manipulations. And the dinosaurs came from that, because I also believe that the Nephilim that are described, and Nephilim is another word that's used by pop culture that goes straight into the biblical stories of who the giants were. And the giants were called the Nephilim, and the Nephilim were the offspring of the human females with the fallen angels, and they made giants, basically, the angel DNA merging with mankind. So anyway, if the dinosaurs existed, maybe they existed in that period. And if these kids find bones as archaeologists today, that's okay. They found these bones of creatures that happened and existed before the flood. And the reason why there aren't the same stories or the ideas that you're talking about in terms of whatever is because only 8 people came out of the flood. And those 8 people were not in line with that reality. And they probably didn't. If you could imagine, if Noah was a real person and he truly existed in that world that God destroyed, and he saw all of that and knew about it, and knew that God destroyed all of it out of pure just pain and anger at how his creation was destroyed by his other created beings that came in and corrupted it. And so he flooded the entire earth and killed everything except for the animals that he wanted saved so that it could repopulate and this group of people. I know that sounds fantastical to people, but there is actually a lot of archaeological evidence to that, and even other scripts by other cultures that reinforce the idea of the flood and all this stuff. That why would he want to talk about that stuff? Him and his family, they would go into the new world and they would say, let's put that behind us. We're not going to discuss the horrors of what God just destroyed. We're going to put a quash on that and move forward. So there's not going to be excitement to talk about these creatures and beasts that were eating people left and right in this megalithic war that happened according to the
How everyone's gonna be like, yeah, let's not ever talk about that again. What?
only 8 people. It's a family, like a tight
Yeah.
group of people. That everyone, they decided what was going to be brought into the new generations.
Okay.
And if they didn't, like if you knew of something
I
and
mean,
you were the
that
only source of
I
information
confess
to
that
Basil,
might be possible, right? 8 people can
yeah,
contain a secret and keep it
yeah,
out from. Okay,
you
I get that. I'm with you.
Basil's
It's
not going to
possible.
know about it, and his
That's
kids are never going to
it's
know about
totally
it down the
possible.
line.
It's totally. I saw The Village,
Like
M Night
it's
Shyamalan.
forgotten.
It's possible. You can
Okay.
do it if you have a
Yeah,
tight group that no one
sure.
talks. Don't talk. Or Goodfellas whack you. Like, yeah, you
Well,
can
let's just
contain it.
put that shit behind us because it was
It's.
terrifying.
I agree. That's possible. What I don't think makes sense here, doesn't add up, is the fact that this flood that took out
Yeah.
every fucking thing except for what was on the boat, right? Took out everything. So much time passes, and we're able to find only the monstrous creatures, none of the infrastructure from what was popping off over there, not a park bench, not a fucking ice cream cone wrapper, nothing.
Who's to say that
Just
we
the
haven't?
bones from the monsters.
Who's to say that we haven't?
Well,
There's
where is
actually
it?
people. There's actually people who have shown evidences of the possibility of giants that were fossilized, and you could actually see like a looks like a
No, I'm
body,
not. I'm
a
talking about like a
stone.
desk or like like some artifact from that time, like something.
Well, depending on what they were made out of, I don't think if a mountain can't withstand the water force that happened from a global or earth-wide flood,
But that's
because
my
imagine
point. Is like, how is it that
everything would
the
be.
bones from the monster creature survive, but nothing else?
Well, because of
There's
the
this
like a
whole
bone.
party popping off, making crazy
Yeah.
beasts
Well,
and partying
then
and
we
doing
go to this other thing where
all sorts of
I
crazy
only
shit. But the
sure.
only thing is the monster bones. That's it. Not a ring. Nothing. Nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't
Where's
have
all
an
the other
answer for
shit?
you. I don't know.
To me, that doesn't
But
add up. That's where I'm like, like I don't mind giving credit to a story that I can't prove otherwise, you know? Like until I can prove it, hey, run with it. You know what I'm saying? And if it's attractive to others, hey, it's not a bad story. It's interesting. Sounds cool. You could probably make a cool movie out of it, cool book, you know what I mean? There's a book out there
they
already about
tried
that,
to,
right?
yeah.
There's already a book, I think. It sells a lot of
But didn't
copies.
they made
It's
that
a
movie
pretty
about
popular book.
Noah,
Yeah, it's
the rock,
also
and all that stuff?
yeah.
It was
So
incorrect.
there are just parts though that's just like, can't get my head around that.
Well, I only conceded the possibility that if there were dinosaurs, that's where they would have existed in my timeline, but I still haven't seen any actual evidence like you're talking about where they found specifically an irrefutable dinosaur that wasn't an imagined creature that you know what I mean? Like they've had to make too many leaps with it to create it for me to
Mm.
say they found it because they didn't find it. They found a couple of bones and then they create something with thousands or hundreds of bones out of those couple of bones and say that's what these bones were. And they've done that over and over again with finding of bones. But I have yet to see any definitive proof. And I've seen people debate, like, because I'm not super, like, I'm not a big, like, researcher where I start documenting it and I'm taking notes and I've got, shelves of proof of this and that and the other. But I've watched people having this debate, atheists and Christians having debates, and the one presents their evidence, the other presents theirs, and pretty much everything I've seen where they claim they found a full
What's
dinosaur,
what's that?
which, well, what size is that, Joe?
But what is it?
What size
What
is that?
animal is that?
It's a lizard of some sort.
What's
I'm
that?
not going to say there aren't things that existed that went extinct. We've seen animals go extinct. Like I said, I'm not debating the possibility that there are. I'm not going to claim I have all knowledge of what archaeologists have found. There's tons of shit I don't even know what's going on. I have yet to see any evidence. If there is evidence of a dinosaur or whatever, I still won't subscribe to the ideas that they put on timelines and stuff like that. Like, I just don't believe it, And anybody could say the same. I grant someone the same respect to do that about what I just said because it sounds just as quote unquote ridiculous. I
Mm,
submit to say there was a great flood, and before the flood, these angels that came from heaven mated with humans and did all this crazy stuff to animals and created this genetically corrupt disaster world where there were giants carnivoring, eating people and all crazy shit and yada, yada, yada. That sounds just as fantastical to me as 55 billion years ago, there were large lizards roaming around the planet and all this stuff or whatever. It's both are leaps of faith at a certain point. But
mm,
I would say there's a lot more evidence, actual evidence, and historical record, like you brought up. Well, why wasn't anybody talking about this over the thousands of years? The only close thing that comes close to societies talking about dinosaurs are dragons. That's the
mm.
only close thing societally. There's no mention in any culture of these large lizards or whatever,
Because they hadn't found them.
or they didn't exist.
I mean, the world's population was so small back then. Only now is it like 7 billion,
Why
but for the
why
longest
over
time,
if humanity's been around for,
And I'm
according to
sure when
evolutionary
occasionally they
cycle,
were found, they were probably used in some weird freak show or sideshow, and people had fun with it, but didn't understand it. So, like stories like dragons popped up, or giants, or they just made up stories, like because people need a
yeah,
story to understand what the hell they're looking at, so they make up
right,
stories. From what I understand, the first giant myth is due to some explorer encountering a prehistoric elephant fossil, and because of the nasal cavity in the skeleton, it appeared to be the skull of an enormous giant with one eye, and that's where the Cyclops story
mm,
origin is from. And I know in Germany there's a city with a statue of a dragon in the center of it, a very old one, and was belief of dragons, and I'm pretty sure it was just encountering old dinosaur bones, throughout the ages. But until more modern age, this is when the bum rush of children started being like, paleontology, I want to get my book autographed from the number one paleontologist in the world. And that started happening when modern society started to take a closer look and discover, what is now known as dinosaurs. But there's
right,
been a lot of time and effort and focus put onto it by generations of people who, because of their pure-hearted interests, the childlike fascination and of wonder of dinosaurs, would have come clean and stopped the madness, stopped the children, stopped the victimization. They would have come and warned us.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's enough evidence. I just don't know. So therefore, it doesn't matter anything I'm saying.
yeah.
It's just speculative
Well,
purely.
me either. Yeah,
But
we are just speculating here.
yeah,
Neither one of us knows
I can't point to
for
anything in
certain.
particular to back
Right.
up what I'm saying. Intuition is often what I operate on, and
Well,
my intuition
this is what
tells me
our
that your
whole
story so
topic.
far still is harmless. There's no reason to be afraid of it, even if you don't
Sure.
agree or identify with all aspects of it. Like I
Yeah.
do not agree with all ideas and aspects of it. I'm still not worried about it, not troubled
Right.
by it, and that might be sounding like, oh well, I have nothing to worry about, But I think even people who fundamentally have lifestyles that might stand in the way, or however you want to frame it in speech, also have nothing to worry about because they could slip in the back door as long as they have that Mike Mucci might be telling the truth feeling, and then one day have that evolve into, oh, maybe I should look into this, and then one day maybe that transforms into, I believe this, and then one day it is stated as need be, and the laser lights don't hit you and you walk through. So really, no one has to worry about it,
Yeah. Well, that's why it's
right?
just fun to it's fun to just explore those things because you can't prove it one way or another,
Hmm.
with the dinosaurs and all that stuff. But uh, some of life and knowledge isn't always based on tangible evidence, if that makes sense. I think that there's more to it than that, and uh, we'll go back to like the origin of this conversation is worldviews, and your worldview is the tinted the tint of the glasses that you're wearing and how you interpret everything you look at. And from my vantage point, I don't believe in the Big Bang. I don't believe in evolution. I don't believe in that timeline. I don't believe in uh, that timeline, essentially, like that
Right.
scope of time. I think it's been much shorter. This reality that we're aware of, it's been a much shorter span of time than what we're presented in our modern world. And because of that is why I say the story of the dinosaurs, I'll submit that they might have been real creatures, just like I believe that people like Zeus were real beings, or Shiva was a real being, as extraordinary as that image is. I personally will believe that that's a truth, a version of the truth of a real person, that there might have been dinosaurs, but because of my worldview,
Hmm.
it impacts my ability to agree with you on at least the story of the dinosaurs. and where they came from and when they existed and how they did or didn't interface with us or whatever else has been here. So, and that, regardless of how many bones we found, none of us can say with certainty what happened when those bones were more than bones, because we weren't there and nobody was there. And if there
Well,
was somebody there, they're dead and nobody wrote about
I wouldn't go so
it.
far. One day maybe there's some sort of bzz, and then it tells you exactly. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
But
I
I
think all
certainly
these
don't know.
mysteries.
I don't know at all, you know. And I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
I'm good with it, right? For
Oh,
me,
sure.
I think the stories primarily are metaphorical and they're written by very clever people to guide them into a direction that will be of benefit for them and those around them, which I think was a very clever thing to do. And I think in many ways, these, what I call stories, are very helpful and have aided many people and continue to do so. And like I said, I don't know. So there's a connection
Yeah.
between my line and yours, right?
Sure.
Certain things.
Yeah.
I admit that I don't know, and I admit that there are genuine sins that we do participate in that don't benefit us very much. Can be very damaging, and to live without them would be a better thing. It just would be probably. It's just that I don't think we agree on all of the sins, perhaps.
Sure.
And
And the truth is with that, it's not my place to even go around telling
yeah,
people
totally.
like
And
like I
and
say describe
and
a
that
true
rule book
Christian
differs
has to
within
admit that
Christianity too.
the
Whether
a
you like
true
it or not,
Christian
there are
has to admit.
Christians who have different opinions on it too, and they live in with ease. They're not at each other's throats. It's okay.
Yeah,
You know. That's the good thing,
absolutely.
right? If you believe it and you're right, it's like pulling the fucking lucky seven at Vegas, at the end of the day. Ding 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 ding. Welcome to heaven, and everyone else is not. And that's the end of
Yeah,
that's how it is. That's it. You know? And everyone has to deal with that. If you're wrong about this and you don't ever confess your sins, you don't ever take a step closer to God, you might burn in hell. That's the message of this story. It might happen. You know? You wanna stand there, throw the die. It's your call, right? Mike's not here to tell you not to do it. He's just saying, hey, you might want to put the dice down. You might want to walk away. Consider this instead, right? Funny thing is, there's no risk with that. Really, it's kind of you just listen to the story, see how it hits you, see how you
sure.
feel.
Yeah,
If you want,
yeah,
go deeper. And if you
yeah,
want,
and
go deep enough to where, hey, if he is right, you're gonna wind up with a nice payoff in the end of the day, for doing the right thing, which is kind of the message that just should float around everyone's head during the days. Do the right thing,
yeah. I think if we're
despite the
gonna do
sin.
anything for anybody, regardless of what the topic is, as far as a good thing, is plant seeds in each other's lives that grow into being positive things. So if I can plant a seed for somebody somewhere with whatever it is, and somebody can plant a seed in me that brings joy into my life, then that's a good thing, and that's a great share. And at the end of the day, we're only responsible for our own decisions, and whatever anybody else chooses or does, that's what they are comfortable with, and it's not our place to enforce ourselves and other people. I think that that's why I respect a lot of people that I don't have the same belief system with, and why I could say, I've only got a handful of people that are acquaintances that I know now that are Christians, but none of my close friends I've ever known had been Christians, and it's not. It's not a topic that I feel should be used as shouldn't be used to bring pain into other people's lives,
Thank
on
God for
purpose. You know
that.
what I'm saying? Like but one caveat is, although I might not be trying to bring pain into somebody's life. Something I'm saying might hurt their feelings.
Yeah, but everyone's in those shoes.
And so,
all day
in
long,
that
everybody
sense,
walks
people,
those shoes.
sure, people say like, well, you're saying this, so you are trying to hurt my feelings, or you're trying to bring pain to my life because you're trying to say this is wrong about me. And, well, I'm sorry if it rubs you that way. I'm not trying to do that.
That's the same thing with everyone. Someone's like, don't wash the dishes like that. Put on your
sure,
shoes like this.
and at the end of the day,
sit down
my
like
philosophy
that. It's the same. Everybody has to go through that.
is the same as yours, which is to try to, we could debate for the rest of our lives certain topics and never agree, but we could have a good time doing it.
That's right.
And we'll see at the end what's what, and I'm going to be made this. I say this to my dad regularly. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff that's going to be brought to my attention that I was completely and currently am totally unaware of, and it's going to hit me like a payload of bricks right in my face.
Like colonization of Mars in your lifetime. You're going to see the colonization of Mars in our lifetime. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Isn't It a Wonder? Thank you very much, Mike Mucci.
Reaching out, touching you.